I only properly learned journalism when I went out into the field. I feel every single journalist has to be out in the street, has to be out in events, has to be physically present in order to understand the different takes, how important it is to walk in as nothing, as a blank page, so that you can absorb your surrounding. And you don't learn that in a classroom. We are all journalists. If you sit around with your friends and tell a story, that's journalism.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud. All about humanity, so this right here for everyone. Uplift, amplify, empower everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud.
Visit sumudpod.com to subscribe and connect with us on social media. You can also support our work by contributing monthly on the Support Us page. Even $10 a month helps us continue amplifying Palestinian voices and those in solidarity. Thank you.
On this episode of the Sumud Podcast, we uplift, empower, and amplify the fearless Rahma Zein. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm going to read something about you really quick.
Sure.
So you are an Egyptian journalist and media critic who challenges power, confronts media bias, and reshapes the narratives that define our world. Today, you bring that same conviction to your work as a consultant for Tech for Palestine. Again, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Palestinian-American attorney Ibrahim Awad. You may know him as the Karate Attorney. He's a huge member of our community and a big supporter of the podcast. Follow him at Karate Attorney on all social media outlets or visit his website, karateattorney.com. Well, it's an honor having you. I do want to start with this really quick.
Okay, wait, let me help.
That's for you.
Oh, really? Great.
Amori. So this is from a lady from my town in Palestine, El Bira, Palestine. Her name is Ghada and her husband's name is Ra'ad. I'm supposed to mention her husband's name too, so I don't get in trouble.
Okay,
Happy?
amazing. Ra'ad.
Ra'ad, yep. They made this just for you, and I wanted to give them a shout out. They are amazing. Ghada is amazing. And here you go.
Do I have to share this with you?
You do not have to share with me. If
Do
you
I
want
have
to
to
open
share
it and
with
try
anyone?
it. No, all you.
Can I have one with my coffee
You
now?
can have one with your coffee
Because
right
that's my biggest happiness in life, to have something with my coffee. I don't need anything else in life.
Enjoy. It's
my favorite
Amori,
thing.
I believe is the name, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I should
try it.
share. That's
No, it's okay.
our culture.
We'll share later. There's no share.
You have to, wallahi, abadan.
I will
لازم.
after. I can't. I'm the host.
You can't.
enjoy.
Wallahi, now I can't.
Okay.
لازم
here.
معايا يعني.
See, here, I'll take. Oh, really? You just. That's what
You
she.
could have taken there. All of them are whole.
It's okay.
You chose this.
Right here, I'll try it right now. Amazing.
MashaAllah.
Shout out.
I swear this is what you need in life. Like tea with milk and this, and people would be better people if
Broken
they just do
cookies.
that in the morning.
Yeah.
It was not broken.
It was broke. You broke it.
You took the broken.
You broke it. It's okay. I don't mind. Delicious. Thank you,
It's a
Amori.
bad one.
We appreciate the cookies. So I gotta ask you, when you were born,
When I was born.
when you were born, did you have a microphone in your hand right away? Did you interview the doctor? I mean, your grandfather is in media. Your grandmother, your mother. That's a
It's a family
fascinating
thing.
Yeah.
Actually, interestingly enough, my mother says that I was born very silent. They thought I was dead. So I think I compensated for that later on in life by being quite loud and talking a lot.
Got it. Okay. And what did you learn from them growing up?
I learned not to take life too seriously, to enjoy life, but always have a very healthy relationship with worldly things. I learned from my mother resilience. I learned from her not to appease. It was actually from my mother that I stole the word customized democracy, because she'd addressed that to Condoleezza Rice when Condoleezza Rice's administration were talking about the new Middle East. My grandfather, I enjoyed joy. And this is why it was always interesting for me to see how they dehumanize people, and especially our men in the region. Not to negate that we have our problems. For sure we do.
Yeah.
But they dehumanize you, so they brutalize you. They strip you from your stories. But if you were to sit 10 minutes with my family and see how sitting on the floor and the beauty of feeding one another as we just did. And I'm sure your home had that too,
Yeah.
because we're not similar because we speak the same language or come from a similar region. We're alike because we have shared values. And this is what I learned from my family.
Is it true that you all would sit at the table and debate and figure out headlines or figure out the role of journalism?
Yeah, my grandfather, when he'd be forced to babysit with me because my mother was working a lot, one of his tricks were to sit me down, and he enjoyed doing this. And he was a prominent journalist, so he would get me to write a headline. And this is when you know how important a headline is, because this is the first thing you look at. So if in the headline I negate where, why, and how, then I'm purposely trying to take away information from you.
Right.
And so it was super important that he would sit me down and make me write these headlines in order to deduce facts and information. From my grandmother, she had a show called Gawlat al-Camera, which is the journey of the camera. And she taught me the importance of a story, which is true. If I tell you 100 died, 100 were killed, you're not going to sympathize as much as if I were to tell you Ahmed, a young student who loves astrology and the stars. You connected with Ahmed, you related to Ahmed.
Right.
So the importance of story was something that was very much there for me.
The
I'm more
storytelling.
similar to my grandmother than my mom. My mom is my grandmother, we enjoy life.
You enjoy life.
We do.
Yeah, very cool. So, everybody knows you from, and we can talk about it later, the situation that happened with Clarissa Ward, is it? But I think everybody wants to know about you. Who are you just as a person? Every day, Rahma, not like...
My mom says I'm nothing.
Okay, that's a good start.
Inti wala haga. And I think it's important. It really humbles you. But it's beauty. There's beauty to know that you are nothing because you can be everything. There's beauty in identifying your weaknesses because you can then empower yourself by knowing your little flaws. My little flaw is I really want to be a dictator of my own country someday.
You want to be a dictator of your own country someday. Walk
Even
me
thought
through
of
that
its
one.
name.
Aren't you?
I dream about it every
Isn't your
night.
reporting anti-dictatorship usually?
Yes, for
And
sure.
Yeah.
But if it's fine if it's me because I really have good intentions.
Okay.
I'm sure that's what all dictators have said before.
Okay. So we call you Queen Rahma?
No.
No.
I'm not one of those dictators.
No. Okay.
I'm just more. I have an idea, an opinion that's gonna be ipso facto. But it's. Don't worry though. Do you want more kah?
No. Your first 30 days then as a dictator.
Oh, please.
There we go.
Let's not get into that. I'm already in the US, and I won't say what I would do, but yeah.
No, we want to hear what you would do.
I think
Like,
most know
say-
what I would do.
Okay, gotcha.
Implement sanctions. I guess.
Yeah.
Just implement sanctions.
That's
We can
very-
start with that.
Smooth.
Smooth.
What else about you would you like people to know? You asked me what my favorite color was. What's your
Yes,
favorite
what
color?
blue.
Yeah. what's
Mine
your-
is green.
green. Why green?
I love green. I love nature. I guess I do spearfishing. And it is
Spearfishing?
very sustainable. I free dive. I love free diving. I
Really?
haven't been for a while, but yeah. I love the outdoors for sure.
Amazing.
It's something that's very important for me, especially because these are the kind of sports that are sort of mind over matter. So when you're free diving, your body starts to panic and you have to be in control. You have to tell your mind we're actually going to be fine. The pressure of the water is fine. So it's so interesting how your mind can trick you. And I always like sports that have that kind of conversation with your head, whether you're mountain climbing. And sometimes you even incorporate that when you're talking to people about liberation. If I think of when I'm climbing the mountain, the summit ahead, I'm going to think about being tired. I'm going to focus on the people around me. But if I just take things step by step, at one point I will reach.
Okay. So you like risk.
I do.
You like doing the crazy stuff.
Well, is it crazy? It's not. It's more. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I was a field journalist. I mean, this was my life. You were running around from people. You were meeting people from all walks of life. You would see how easy it is for someone who is absolutely great when being placed with a group and there's a mob mentality, how easily they can shift, and that people can sometimes be victim to circumstance. And it's such an eye opener to do things that are outside of your comfort zone, because it really opens your eyes to the broader thing. And also you start to link things. You link that you like your crazy sports, and that's linked to your journalism, and that's linked to being in the street. And it's beautiful to just see a wholesome perspective of things.
So you're just clearly fearless. Where does that come from?
I have a fear of heights.
Okay.
I have a fear of heights.
Okay. So other than heights, you're fearless.
I fear God, and I think wallahi, and I think it's important.
I assume
I fear my
God.
mom. I fear the shib.
Okay.
I fear my mom 100%.
Yeah.
You know, did you have that with your mom when they just look at you in public and you know when you get home?
Yep. That shoe
No.
coming out my head
And
right
there's
away.
always a head tilt with it. If it's with the hand gesture, it's dangerous. Like there are so many things.
So did you cause a lot of problems growing up in school? Yeah.
Never.
Never. Were you talkative in class?
Yes, I was awful.
Okay.
But
Did you
know,
get in
that's
trouble
not
with
the
that?
point. The point
Yeah.
is to look at the now. And it's the now that's
But people want to
important.
hear your story. They want to know more about you.
Focus on the now.
Yeah.
I was curious.
Okay.
All kids are curious. I was curious. I was always against injustice. Can I tell you a story that stuck with me?
Please.
Because I will never forgive.
Go for it.
We were at school. Okay, and I don't know, at school you have all these little coalitions that sprout out. And there was this one girl. She was the popular girl, Sara. So Sara had a feud with Nadine. I know I'm outing her in the story. We were primary school, but I still remember. So Sara came to all of us because she had this feud with Nadine, and she was like, next day at school, no one is allowed to talk to Nadine. So no one was allowed to talk to Nadine. And I thought that was very unfair. So the next day, I took it upon myself to go talk to Nadine. Guess what Sara did? In such Zionist fashion. She went up to Nadine and she told her, fine, we'll bring you back to our being our friend, but now you're not allowed to talk to Rahma. And guess what Nadine did?
What did Nadine
She
do?
said, okay.
Wow.
I will never forget.
That's sad.
I know, it was quite sad. It was
Sad.
quite sad. But that's the thing, you have to take a stand. If you don't take a stand on things, who are you?
Right.
And the world system is done in place so you are sedated and seduced into the system where just every day you have to bow your head down.
Yeah. How do you think they feel about you today? Those two people.
Oh, I saw Nadine.
Okay.
And I told her, and she said, Rahma, you still remember the story? Khalas. I was like, I will never forgive you.
So the message is, don't mess with you. You're
No,
never going to forget. Yeah, I got you. You just go back to your grandparents. I mean, 3 generations. You talked about your grandmother being the greatest influence a little bit earlier. Talk through that a little bit more.
We used to have something called sunset conversations. So basically, Egypt has beautiful beaches, and we had a tiny little cabin where all the family would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I would I would go off into the wilderness from morning until sunset. So you swim in the sea, and then you come back at sunset, and we would have this sunset conversations where we talk about anything and nothing. There's nothing that's taboo. There's nothing that's wrong or right, because that's sometimes a very Western perspective, right and wrong. And it's a wholesome conversation. We would stop talking during the sunset to watch it as a show. And it was so funny because every day was different, but every day was the same. And we'd watch it as a show, clap, go pray Maghrib, and then I'd go off back with the kids. And it was just beautiful because it also taught you to love the simpler things. And this is why I so much appreciate this gift, because another thing that we had was to have our coffee and conversations and something sweet. So this is what you do, coffee or shay, and just have that and just be around the table. But she was also such a rebel. So, and this is why it's always so funny when they talk about women empowerment. I think to myself, you just don't realize how powerful we are. And I think they're scared of our power. You know, it was so funny. In medieval times, the West would call women with opinion witches. Now they call them terrorists. So my grandmother was, you know, cigarette in hand. And it's so funny. I remember once my mom and I sitting down, because she was a journalist. She was very extroverted, had friends with all these celebrities, and me and my mom would be sitting at the dining table, and then knock, 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 walks in this woman who is a big star and I don't know what, and my grandmother sits with her, and then the woman leaves. And then knock, 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 this woman who is super religious, I don't know what. the thing is, you'd realize that as long as people have these shared values, you can have friends with people from all walks of life. And it was just so unbelievable to witness. And she was also really funny. And she'd say jokes that you shouldn't say. For example, when my grandfather passed away, I remember me and her sitting on the couch. And then we had one of the families bring us fatir from Said. I don't know how you explain fatir. It's like very heavy Egyptian pies. And so after the funeral, she said, oh, bring out the pies, defrost them, we'll have some. So we eat them. They're so heavy. We're both sitting at the couch. And then she looks at me and she says, who died again? And it's like, I'm like, your husband. So I love my family.
She had that dark humor.
We all do. Bit. My mother is awful.
Are you a comedian as well?
Oh.
We found that in the research, but we couldn't find any of your skits or anything. You are a comedian as well.
Well, the world is not very funny.
Yeah.
But it actually happened in New York that my friend Habiba told me I was just making fun of certain things in the West. But it makes me seem harsh. But that is what was happening in the US, because I was also I covered the Mitt Romney and Obama elections. So there was lots of comedic relief there. So she signed me up to this comedy show in New York. And I went and I won a notebook.
You won a what? What is it?
A notebook.
Oh, nice.
I just said basically stories from traveling around the US.
Can you tell me a joke?
No, well, I can tell you, well, it's not going to be funny, but I can tell you an experience.
Just for the audience to know, since she's come on set, she's been making fun of me the whole time. So,
I have not made fun.
So just...
He said, oh, well.
Yeah. Can you throw a joke out there for us?
Well, it's not, I can tell you a quick story.
Go for it.
It's never quick because I talk too much. You have to stop.
No, you're good. No. I'm enjoying my coffee here.
So I was in New Mexico and I walked into this shop and this lady from around the corner was like, oh, where are you from? And I said, Egypt. And I thought she was going to tell me Sphinx pyramids. I don't know what. And she goes, oh, you poor thing. The way those men treat y'all. I can't imagine for you to be all the way out here. They must have done something. And I was about to school her. I was about to say that's a stereotype. We have our issues. However, this is dictated by your media so that there's a lack of awareness. And she goes, you know what? You take these earrings for free. And I looked at her. I was like, they also lock us up in the pyramids. I got a necklace out of it as well.
How do you do the accent so well?
I like accents.
What other accents
I
can
don't
you
think
do?
you ought to, apparently.
What other accents do you have?
I don't know. Just sprouts out.
Can you imitate people? You want to imitate Trump?
I like not to. No, I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody can imitate this man at this point. He's a wild card.
No. Studied poli-sci?
I did.
Why not journalism?
This is gonna sound so wrong, but I don't believe in studying journalism. It's field work. Yeah. I only properly learned journalism when I went out into the field. I feel every single journalist has to be out in the street, has to be out in events, has to be physically present in order to understand the different takes, how important it is to walk in as nothing, as a blank page, so that you can absorb your surrounding. And you don't learn that in a classroom. I learned that through my family being out in the street. There's nothing more beautiful than being outside, than making sure to travel. We are all journalists. If you sit around with your friends and tell a story, that's journalism. And unfortunately, Ahmed Din Shihab, who is a very prominent journalist, and me and him were discussing this, he's detained for retweeting. And it's such a shame because I think of Kuwait, my brothers and sisters, and I am in no way talking down about the government, but it's sad to see that Ahmed is one of us, and he's so ethical. And interesting enough, he was the one who said you have to bring in your personal values, because usually there's always that discussion of, as a journalist, should you just be show and tell or should you be vested? Yeah. And his take was you should be vested. You should have feelings towards things, because it's true. You have to be emotional. You don't go into a meeting too emotional. But why are we always telling each other that in certain settings we have to strip one of their emotions, lest they come across to this or to that? Or yeah, we are our emotions.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you were in the field?
Oh, yes.
Now I definitely want to hear the story.
I actually thought I would be one of those field journalists that were not in danger all the time. And I went and I did my hair, and there was a popular chemical thing that you do to your hair, and I dyed it and I don't know what. And it turned out to be this very, very big protest. The tear gas reacted with the chemicals in my hair, and my hair started to burn.
No. Wow.
And it started to coil up, like plastic. And it was really interesting. This was during the Egyptian revolution, and I say, my hair is burning. And there's this old man, and he was a bit of a philosopher as well, which wasn't working for us. And he says, my kiosk is burning. And it started becoming competition. And I was like, no, but my hair on my head is burning. And he's like, my livelihood is burning. So each one was starting, and I was trying so hard to make him understand. And I'd lost my photographer. It was crazy.
How much hair did you,
I just had to cut this, but I learned how to jump fences very well. And I also learned that assumptions are terrible. So it would be interesting when we'd go to a certain protest or a certain setting, the person you would think was the biggest thug turns out to be the kindest, heartest person who would actually protect me and the crew as we were navigating any scenario.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
So you talked about the Arab Spring and reporting there, when you're seeing your people go through a struggle and this push and pull with the government, whatever government it is. When they're Muslims as well, this struggle, how do you feel seeing that as a journalist?
You can't judge what you know now with what was then. There's always that conversation. And seeing from what I know now, it is heartbreaking what's happened in the region. And even without sounding conspiratory, because having been a reporter on the ground, I did see interference in different ways. And it was just sad because you see most momentous events are oftentimes infiltrated. And that's fact. And so the point is, leaving that behind, but looking at the region today, it does break my heart when I see not just Muslims together, but Arabs together, people of the same value, Africans together, dividing with one another instead of looking at the root cause of their issues. This breaks my heart so much, because I don't just connect with you because we speak the same language, but because we both got beat by a ship. You know what I mean? Like we both come from that same understanding of hospitality. And look at us together. I don't want to sound so utopian, but it is something that I dream of. And it breaks my heart when we fight, because it's a dictated fight. This division is man-made.
So what's our problem?
We're too emotional. And it's used against us. It was so funny. You're never gonna guess. It was this is gonna sound whatever, but for me, especially the Arab Jews, there's a Stockholm syndrome going on. You find that a lot of them are more Zionist than the Zionists themselves. And that's heartbreaking. And if you look, the Jewish problem was a European problem. It was never an Arab problem. Iraq had the most prominent of Jews, and it was the synagogues were actually hit by the Haganah. And this was very much steered, not to say that it didn't then start division, but I know for a fact it was very much spearheaded by Israel. So I was talking to this Arab older Jewish man who actually fought against Israel. He's Moroccan. He's an old Jewish Moroccan man. And I told him it breaks my heart that now they're the ones that should be fighting against Israel. And they're using Judaism in a manner that is absolutely criminal. And it hurts me that there's still division between Arabs and the Jewish Arabs who were made to shed off their Arab skin so that they could fit into what is called Israel. And he told me, بس قعدة شاي وهم هيعرفوا يتصرفوا. It's really that. When you would have a dispute كان بنسميها قعدة عرب. You sit down, you have your coffee, you have your يا عمي. What happened to that?
Yeah. What happened to it?
Money.
No, really.
Money.
Money? Yeah.
أيوة. We forgot our values. We forgot. And the thing is, the colonialism doesn't just come from outside. It also comes from inside. يعني, if I want to be westernized so much so that I have a place on a table, because the system is made that you need to shed your skin to have a place on a table. But at the end of the day, especially with what we're seeing today, we're realizing that the appeasement hasn't worked.
Right.
And I noticed that when I was covering in the US, because I was made to feel at some point with a family in Michigan that I was maybe too Egyptian, too opinionated in a certain way that they didn't like.
Yeah.
And her response was, be careful, because here in America, we don't like that. And I said, well, I cannot just dictate what you want me to say. It doesn't work like that. You have to accept the other person's opinion. But the way media works here is that it's isolationist. So it gives you the information that you need, so you are severed from the other. The other is something far away, and they just need to mutate according to your opinions, your perspective that's been built.
So when you did the Romney and Obama election, what was your biggest takeaway? Because what I imagine in my head, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, you came from Egypt, you decided to do journalism in the States on the politics of the US. You probably had more hope and more, I don't know, like, was it going to be amazing, a good experience? This is real journalism. And then you realize you're just part of a propaganda machine.
It was one of the best experiences because it was very eye-opening. But bear in mind, I grew up with my grandfather who's been telling me about all these things from beforehand. But anyway, I was taking footage, I was taking information. But one of the biggest takeaways was really that the average American does not realize how their foreign politics is affecting the rest of the world in such a profound manner. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. It's just that's a very internal thing, because the administration does have policies that, for example, but this was after, but it really encompasses what I mean. There are different realities that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So recently I was in Los Angeles, and there's a memorial that they have for fallen soldiers. And I was walking, and this man came up to me. He's in charge, it's like a sort of tourism thing of the memorial. And he came up to me, he said, "Oh, where are you going? You need to see this." And I looked at him, "See what?" And he said, "Look, we have even something where we commemorate the dogs, the German shepherds, the dogs that fell in Iraq. And I looked at him. The image in my head was Abu Ghraib and the torture prisons and a dog barking at a civilian. That's the image that immediately came to my head. Another image of a double tap where they bombed a car of a family, and when Iraqis came to help, they bombed that again. That's the image that came in my head. The image he has is of Top Gun, of Lassie, of, a dog running in the field helping people. That's his reality.
You're the first person ever to mention Lassie.
And I probably will be the last. Please take that away. I'm not that old.
No.
But it's just the different realities we have. And they have these big, grand Hollywood movies that are done, but they sedate them, because you have to understand that there are realities that we may know if we dig 5 minutes are not true, but these are the realities that keep us going. Because if you look at the reality that your son is not going as a hero, but as an illegal, in an illegal war, which actually makes him a criminal, me as an American mom, as a good Christian, won't want to believe otherwise. And it will really hurt to look in the mirror and understand and realize that my son is not going as a hero, he is going as a conqueror. And he's probably going to kill a few kids. That's not a reality that would help me sleep at night. So a lot of us take on the realities that help us sleep at night. And American media is very good at doing that.
So if you were, I'm going to call you Professor Rahma, if you were teaching a class on media and politics or journalism, what would be the first lesson that you'd want to get out there?
Well,
I stumped Rahma.
That is such an interesting question. Again, it starts with your relationship with yourself. I swear it starts with that. I know it's gonna sound cliche, but
So
to
if I'm a
love.
student and I come to your class, the first thing you're going to say is have a relationship. A good
Yeah, what's your
with myself.
relation? How do you talk to yourself? Because the thing is, because what's journalism? It's your relationship with what you're seeing.
Okay.
If I don't have a healthy relationship aslan with myself to begin with, then how am I going to have a healthy relationship and therefore perspective, therefore analysis with my surroundings? What are my key values? What are my key values? Values, something that has died for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, yeah.
What are my key values? And how am I going to incorporate my key values in what I'm doing? Why do I say my key values? Because as a journalist then, if I know that my key values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though I got the hottest footage right here, but that mother came up to me and asked me, please don't film this. But this is spicy. This is a good one. This is gonna go viral. What do I then decide? To listen to her? Even though, for example, this piece of video is gonna be so cool, but it's gonna cause problem in that specific area. So you have to decide. But how do you decide if you don't have that healthy foundation? If you have a strong building, an earthquake is not just gonna make it crumble. I mean, you might shake a bit, but it's still there, the foundation. الأساس.
Powerful.
I like that. I need to,
Yeah.
I like
We'll clip it for you. We'll give it to you. That's powerful. How about media bias? How would you prepare your students for understanding their own biases? Or do you welcome biases?
I'm gonna take liberty in quoting Ahmed Dean here. I think he would welcome biases. I like this. Bias in what way? Am I venting? Do I have my own personal agenda? Or bias, because bias in what way? It's so interesting. Sometimes when I talk to you, a friend or whatever, if there's something that is upsetting me, for example, if I say it in a certain way, it might have the opposite effect. So you always have to decide, what is my objective? Is it to make actual change or to vent? Usually, if it's to vent, then it's not a good idea.
Right.
Then it's ego. If it's to actually make change, then have the bias. And that's why it's all connected. It starts with that connection with yourself so that you are clearly asking yourself the why. You get the why, you have the how.
Well, let me give you an example. After October 7th, you remember very well, everybody put the I stand with Israel. They put the flags out there. And these are journalists. These are professionals. These are people from all sort of occupations. Clearly, they had an inherent bias. So I think where I'm going with that is, how do you get them to check that at the door and revisit what they've been taught? Because in America, and I'll say this, we are constantly manipulated. We're constantly brainwashed. Rather us watch Netflix than pay attention to what's really happening. What we're seeing on our phones, for example, in Palestine or even in Lebanon now, that's not real news. That's fake. That's AI. And that's what people are saying in some cases. How do we unlearn that?
We have to have also our responsibility. You can't just depend. And especially now with social media and moving on from orthodox media, there's no excuse for you not to know. But I will tell you something. I was recently interviewing this American tourist, and she told me I stay away from the news because I don't want to know. A lot of people don't want to know because there's a feeling of incapacity. There's that feeling of, I have that piece of information. How do I go with it? Yeah, that I saw that IDF throwing Palestinians off the roof. What do I do now? And sometimes it's easier for me to believe that there's nothing for me to do about something, because then again, it's one of those things where what is easier for me to live? What is not going to stop me? Because it's true. And for a lot of us who are very much aware, you feel crippled. The feeling of helplessness is one of the most crippling feelings you can have. When you see injustice right in front of you and there's nothing for you to do. But guess what? The system wants you to feel this way. It is in the benefit of the system for you to feel that sense of incapacity. But then again, it goes back to the mountain climbing. If I just think of the summit, if I just think I have to do something, then I'm never going to do it. Because what is this something?
Yeah.
If you just think of that big, I have to do something. No, ask yourself questions. Go back. And then you start to realize that by knowing, you can find out that there's the Hind Rajab Foundation, where I work, the Tech for Palestine organization. There are people. So, khalas, if I can't think of a whole organization, I can come to this. And then I network. And then I meet you and you're doing something. And then we do something together. Because the thing is, and this is why, for example, I hate the word activist, all these ists. Because then it makes it seem that it's only the politician that speaks up. It's only the journalist that speaks up.
What are you then if you're not an activist? Other than
Human.
activist? You're human?
Human. Egyptian.
Yeah.
I'm Egyptian. Going back to try and answer your point, is that if I just focus on that media outlet that is biased, why don't I come up with my own media outlet? Or why don't I help a platform that is not media biased? Why am I just focusing on that? Instead of talking to them or talking at them, be louder than them. That's the whole point. If I don't like this, be louder. If I don't like this, be better. If I don't like this table, to hell with this table, let's make our own table. That's the point. It's because it's so much easier for me to just say, I don't watch the news. I don't watch مش عارف ايه. What are we? Don't think what you can do. Think of what you can do.
Yeah. But you know what's scary is there are people in our community that have the same perspective. I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to know.
100%.
Right? What would your message be to our people?
One message.
You get 3.
I have messages. Honestly, sometimes.
Sorry to cut you off, but you talked about assimilation, right? You have a lot of people that assimilate. They're afraid to speak up. What would you say to them?
To those who want to assimilate, I will say نوما في الآخر مش هينفعوك, which means that I don't know how people live with themselves if they shed their skin. And I remember that there's this acquaintance that I knew, and it was very public when I was speaking up. She sent me a message saying, I didn't think you were like them. I was like, who's them? I'm like, لا حبيبتي, I'm worse than them. She thought because I speak English, I whatever, that I'm not very much attached to my culture, my identity, my being, my values.
Yeah.
But no. And I don't know how you live with yourself if you were to shed your skin, but I understand people who do. Because if you do live in a country where you're constantly being looked at as the other and just want to go by your day to day. So also, I don't judge. But to each his own. I don't have a message because who am I also? I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher. At the end of the day, how do you sleep at night? So really, it is, I know I'm talking about a collective, but there is an individual aspect to it where you do have to question yourself and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is this right? What can I do? To ask yourself the tough questions that maybe won't make life so easy. But the thing is, what is life without struggle? Like, we're taught that struggle is bad and being unhappy is bad, but all of these looked at as negative things actually build you.
You know what I realized about you as you're talking? When we see you on social media, you're so direct and so fearless and so tough, which is a great thing. We want that. We want more of that. Don't stop that, okay?
Yeah.
But you are also so positive. I'm meeting you here now, and you're a very positive thinker. You look at things at different angles, and you bring in a lot of positivity to your thought process. Where does that come from?
My mom. Mama,
yeah.
Because every time I'd come and complain, she'd say, don't tell me complain, tell me solution.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, my grandmother, look for the exit before the entrance. They're always always had to be there.
The Clarissa Ward situation, where you were at the Rafah border with Egypt, and you had a conversation with her. I think one thing that people don't understand is you were having conversations with many different people, and that's the one that got caught on camera. But even deeper than that, you're talking about field journalism. You were sleeping in a tent. You probably didn't even sleep for days, quite honestly.
It was the journey going to Rafah, which was 14 hours. And that night, which is fine. Honestly, you did worse as a field journalist. You just travel around, go to Libya. This is normal. What wasn't normal was being in the tent that one night, and the tent shakes from the bombing. And I've been a field journalist before. We've been shot at, my hair burnt, like I told you, that terrible story. But this is the first time that you feel it in your heart. Your heart vibrates. It was horrible. And I immediately got out of the tent And I'm looking for people. There were the aid workers that were, and Palestinian family members who have Palestinian family across, because, you know, we're so close and family here is family there. So I thought I'd get out of the tent at 3:30 a.m. It had started by 2, I think. And I thought I'd find a lot of people outside, and no, they were just sleeping through it. And so I knew this one aid worker who was sleeping in a bus. And I bang on her door, on the bus door. And she opens the door and she had the audacity to say, "You woke me up." She's Egyptian. صحيتيني من النوم. قلت لها I woke you up, not the bombing. I woke you up. I woke you up. قلت لها what? She's like, صلي لك ركعتين ونامي. Prayer and sleep. Prayer and sleep. Prayer and sleep. I was going crazy. I was walking right and left, pacing, listening to the bombing. And it was so funny. There are black beetles that appear, especially in the Sinai area. The black beetles that I was previously scared of were the ones that helped me sleep a little bit. Any life form that's close to you. So strange. And I just stared at them, and I stared at these beetles, and all I could think of is, I'm scared. Imagine a mother whose kid is scared. Because I remembered when I would be scared as a kid, the only time I would be scared is if I saw my father scared or I saw my mom scared. That's when I'd be scared. But if there's an earthquake and I look at them and my father is just relaxed watching TV, then it's fine. But how do you operate when you yourself are scared? The other thing that I thought of is when you hear a bomb and you know that's your neighbor and the waiting to die. Waiting to die. That was one of my weakest points because it goes back to that feeling of helplessness. No one likes to feel helpless. And the feeling that of injustice is worse than القتل. Yani, for me and for many of us in the region, I believe, and I'm sorry that I'm speaking on behalf of so many, I shouldn't, but at least from what I see, is that for us, الإهانة or that sort of injustice is worse than physical body harm, the mental. And I remember this when I was talking to a Palestinian hostage who recently was released, and he told me that the worst part is the mental games that they do. It's the mental torture. It's the ihana. It's trying to always strip you from your humanity. And then he told me, but it is that differentiates us from the other. Your humanity is what differentiates. It's your values. It's sticking to a core. It's believing in something. So then that lady was absolutely so funny, and she gave me power, and I just from about 7 a.m. I was standing in that one place where the UN chief was supposed to arrive and speak, and he didn't, and I was just, of course you're charged with that, and you want to do something. And I feel that we all really want to do something. And that feeling that there's nothing to do is what stops us. And we need to realize that there's always something to do. And that it's cowardly to think that there's nothing to do.
When you looked at her in the eyes as you were yelling at her, and I say yelling in a good way, because you were standing up for every Palestinian at that very moment. What did you see? I know this is a weird question, but what did you see in her eyes?
Because it's not about her, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to focus on that.
How about the cameraman? The cameraman was from Palestine?
Well, no, he wasn't. He wasn't
Okay.
Palestinian. He'd visited, but I don't want to focus on them. Focus on me, because the situation, if you want to look at it, is not about her, is not about me. My mother is so interesting because my mother's done worse. So for her, she doesn't understand what's the big deal.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like, she wake me up at night.
I believe you.
And she'd tell me, "What did you free Palestine? Did you free حررتي فلسطين يعني?" But my mom and I sat down to analyze why it was. But it just goes to show kept or the suppression that we have of our voices and constantly being talked about and at without being talked to. The constant dehumanization we've all felt, not just Palestinians, and that we're all waking up to see that it's not just the Palestinian, ya habibi. It's all of you. And it's even you who wears the nice shiny suit so that you can come and have a place on their table. Even you are dehumanized. Because when push comes to shove and you try to stick by your core values, you will be reminded of where you come from. And it's not us that will remind you of where you come from. They will remind you.
Yeah. Speaking of they will remind you, you had the opportunity to interview Palestinian prisoners.
Yes.
One of them was digging a tunnel for 20 years. Is that true?
With Wallahi. Interestingly enough, I told him, but 4 days later, and it was the Palestinian women who hid him and took care of him. I told him, but you were taken after just 4 days. And he told me, even if I had gone out for an hour, because it is that act of resistance within itself to show them that at the end of the day, they are nothing.
For 20 years? He actually, wow.
Time prison بقى هتعمل
Yeah,
إيه
yeah,
تاني؟
yeah, yeah.
مفيش
I
Netflix.
know. That's.
No, it's that you talk to them. It was the most eye-opening experience for me. I talked to one, and it was so interesting for me. He told me that he got into resistance by design, by fate. What else would he do? He told me, because I cannot trust a man who doesn't stand up for his values. But at the end of the day, I never killed a child. And I would never. I told him, if the roles were reversed, would you do the same criminal actions? He was like, even today, I would never. It's unheard of. That's what differentiates us. That's what differentiates you from the monstrosity. And so I told him, if this wasn't your fate, what would you have liked to be? And he said, probably a physics professor. I like astrology. Honestly, that caught me by surprise because I detest physics. And he would leave this and become a physics teacher. I would join the resistance instead. I told him, physics, really? And he's like, I love physics. I'm like, okay. Different choice, but okay.
Any powerful stories from the prisoners?
So there was...
they're all powerful, but you know what I mean.
They were all powerful.
Memorable one.
It was interesting that one of them was actually Jewish. And he's an actual Jewish Palestinian, you know, because in Palestine, you had the Jews, you had the Christians, you had the Muslims, and they were fine.
Yeah.
And these are the original Palestinians. So obviously, so he told me that, you know, the guys in prison would just joke around and tell him, look at what your people are doing to us. And he's like, yeah, I'm like, you know, it's so Arab.
Yeah.
It's just, and then you realize that they're just so, this is your brother, this is your family. I talked to this man and he tells me, and one of the stories, he was walking with his grandmother, and there was the beginning of the settlements, the start of El Sakanat, and he told her, Nena, what's this? And she told him, oh, it's they need a place to stay, and so we're helping them and we're welcoming them. He told her that, and he told me the next day, those people shot at family members and the rest of the villagers. We were worried about them, and we were made to be hospitable towards them. They turned around and directed their guns at us. What is that?
And how do you handle that information, again, as a professional? Because for me, I would internalize it right away.
You do internalize. You have to internalize things. If you don't internalize things, you're not human.
But how do you handle that yourself, though, emotionally?
I go spearfishing. I kill fish.
So there you
but
go.
I eat them.
You eat
and
them.
It's very sustainable.
Sustainable.
I love spearfishing.
It's very sustainable.
Wallahi, it is.
Yeah. No, I believe
Yeah,
you.
it's not mass
I believe that you
fishing.
do kill the fish and eat them. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't. I stalk before if it's a fish with someone and they're obviously going around, and I don't. If it's a lonely fish.
So if I were to come to you today and I have no idea or a good understanding of what's happening in the world or politics, okay? Let's just say I've been, trapped somewhere and brainwashed or whatever it may be. And I say, hey, who should I be listening to? What journalists should I be listening to? What should I be reading? What TV shows or podcasts should I be listening to or watching?
I would tell you to listen to voices from the region. And I'm sorry to say, not just ones in the diaspora, but people in the region as well, in Gaza. And also journalists who've seen certain things. For example, Fatin Alwen, and she was Shireen Abu Akla's very good friend, and she's still a very prominent journalist today, and she was reporting very well from the West Bank. You have Mariam Barghouti. You have so many... You have Marwan Barghouti's son, Arab Barghouti. So it's not just about looking at journalist outlets, because what did I used to do as a field journalist at the end of the day is go to the person in the area and platform their voice. But now you have access to the voices of the area themselves. So I would actually dig out specific people. And I'm not telling you, don't listen to this. بالعكس, you should listen to this and you should listen to that. And مثلا, my mom or my family would tell me, no, go here and go there and travel this. As long as you have that foundation again, so it starts with self. What are my key values? Then you can listen to the fox and listen to this and listen to this. Because who are you if you don't have critical thinking and analysis?
Yeah.
So you can listen to the whole and then deduce.
Is there anybody that you would like to interview that you haven't had a chance yet?
I wish that my grandfather was still alive. I'd want to interview him. And my grandma.
Powerful.
Yeah.
What would you ask him?
I don't know. I'd ask my grandfather more about the Mossad because every time he'd try and talk to me about it, I'd honestly get bored. But also, I was 7. But it was interesting. He has so many stories.
He didn't
journalist.
No books or anything?
No, he's authored a couple of books. Some of them I think are inspired by my grandmother because she was such a tough cookie. So it was more of a complaint. Like he was venting in his book about strong women.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because all the women in my family are so strong. And then I look at these Western journalists telling me about freeing us EU.
Speaking of that, there's a stereotype, obviously, that women in general, or Arab women, or even Muslim women, are too loud or too emotional. You've been accused, right? Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
What's your message to, and I'm talking about Arab men specifically here, who criticize?
I have a story. I don't know if I should say it.
Please, we'd love to hear it.
Okay.
Nobody.
Okay, this is gonna be like a Nadine thing. I'm on this podcast to just out everyone. But it was really interesting. We were at this setting, and I spoke, and in my head, honestly, ego sometimes creeps up at you. And I thought to myself, I've obviously liberated all these people, and we're all gonna go out and do something. In your head, any ego out there. But until I see my mom, and I'm reminded that I'm not doing anything. But anyway, so I thought I did it. I just thought I did a good job, and people were gonna actively start to organize because I was also starting to look at protests, especially the ones from 9 to 5. يعني at the end of the day برضو the protests are a bit venting. Let's at least in the protest network within the protest and see what other people are doing or organizing. Like now it's time for strategy. So we were talking about that, and but I was talking in the way that I talk. And there was an Arab man that came up to me afterwards, and he told me well done very good ومش عارف ايه. He's like بس ممكن اقول لك على حاجة, which is, can I tell you something? قلت له sure, يعني of course. And he told me, but يعني woman up كده شوية, and like the feminine. And it was interesting that before that in the conversation he was just telling me about how he can't speak up and he's worried and I don't know what. قلت له, of course I would love to woman up when you man up كده, we all, everyone. No, but I didn't mean it like that.
What do you mean? You meant it exactly.
Yes, I meant it like that. I meant it like that. مش قصدي, بس اللي هو, but honestly يعني أنا مثلا my grandfather loved my grandmother as she was, and I think maybe this is the new Arab man, يعني ما أعرفش. But my father مثلا, he loves how I am, and he's always very proud of he's also very يعني, like he always says this is from this lion, like he says that, which is very, very sweet. But I don't know, for me, my uncle was also in politics. The men that I have seen, or at least that I have grown up with, and also that is something that creates a bias, that my surroundings is, I've seen men who appreciate the strength of a woman, because women are very strong,
Mm-hmm.
and especially women of our region, African women, Arab women, they're the strongest. يعني, have you ever dealt with a Moroccan woman? يعني, mashallah. يعني, it was very interesting. The first time I come to the US, I was a kid and I'd lost my wallet and I forgot all the English. Forgot no Ingilizi, it's in panic mode. So I forgot all of the English and I'm just talking in Arabic and I'm crying. This Algerian woman comes up to me, holds me. I'm a kid, and this is the beauty of our culture. ما فيش بقى space, and she holds me كده. And she tells me what happened. محفظتي, my wallet, and and I don't know how my parents are gonna react. And the first thing she does, feed me, of course. فأنا طبعا I forgot wallet and Egypt and my parents. I'm just eating. Give me food, I forget everything. And she just sorted everything out. She took me to the bank, took me to the مش عارف إيه, took me. Our women are doers, and I'm not even saying this. They always say there always has to be an ist, like feminist, activist. You always have to, so that you can be controlled. I'm against always categorizing people in this way, because constantly having to label creates a dictation for them that you must then act in a certain criteria. And I remember, because then when you'd go down, and I was talking to some of the people in the West who are outspoken, or what you would dub an activist, they told me, but you're doing your hair and you're doing your makeup. I'm like, Habibti, in my region, we do this and we do that and we do this. And that's the beauty of being a woman.
Yeah.
Everything and its opposite.
I still can't believe you said that to that guy. Man up.
Oh, I didn't mean it. Like, yeah, go to the gym, but also this is gym,
I hear you. Do you regret going on Piers Morgan?
Which time?
This what, 3 times or 2 times?
I think it was
Been a
3
couple
times.
times,
There is one that I regretted.
Okay.
There is one that I
You
regretted.
want to tell us which one that is? Or?
The second one. The setting was very confusing. I wasn't very sure. You should always prepare. Always prepare. But I don't believe you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. You should be strategic. If you're going to be smart and speak well, and not speak for yourself, but speak for a cause that's bigger than you and be effective, then so be it. If you're going to change minds, if some people are going to come up to me afterwards and say they were believing something and they believe something else now, or understand the truth of the matter, so be it. And unfortunately, we live in a world where it's no longer about the message, but it's how you package it.
Yep.
And that's so scary. There's no more important message than don't kill kids. But for some reason, I need to package it in a white person, in a white program, in a certain setting, so that it's digestible, when it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But this is where we are today. And the one show was just simply with the Mustarib. I don't even want to give his name, because and those are the worst kinds, the ones that are used by Shinbet and the Mossad basically to puppet and the assets. And these are worse than the Zionists, because they speak your language, they look like you. Sad.
I want to give you pushback a little bit. Shouldn't we avoid going on Piers Morgan? Shouldn't we avoid going on any of these networks?
And just talk amongst ourselves in the living room.
No, what you're doing is brilliant on social media.
True.
What you're building with Tech for Palestine is
Or
brilliant.
not true, Annie, sure.
What's that?
Sure, yes.
Yeah, I mean, people are listening,
100%.
right? There are other platforms like Electronic Intifada, for example. There are other platforms that we could be going on. Why do we need to continue going to those platforms when we're just being tokenized? They're making a clown out of us at the end of the day.
That is an interesting and very valid perspective. And I don't disagree with it, because it is a valid perspective. But why can't it be an add-on? The thing is, for me, if you're going to go on there and be well prepared and say something, because at the end of the day, you do need to, it's not about the message, but how you package it. So you do need to package it also in a way that is going to be digestible by people who don't know what we know. Yani, Anna, coming from the region, this is something that you're fed at birth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we were very much shocked. Why? Because post 7th of October, each one of us, specifically in the region, thought, now the world will finally see Zionism and they will put an end to this, because there's no way they're going to see what we've always known and not do anything. The scariest part for all of us was that what we now know, even more so, and you're either not doing anything about it, and even worse still is justifying it.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to, because I'm not evading your question, is that I do believe that you still need to go on the platforms where your message is going to be packaged in a way where British Jimmy is going to see this and say, the immigrants that I don't like, where do they really come from? Manish.
Accents.
No, but this wasn't a British accent. I can do a better one. It's true. لازم. As long as I'm not appeasing. As long as I'm not...
Let me push back. Okay. You, let's just say you did something so amazing. Like what happened to you when you yelled at Clarissa? You made headlines. It was a big deal. Not using you as an example. I'm just using that situation as an example. Piers Morgan calls you. Electronic Intifada calls you.
Electronic Intifada didn't call me.
If they did.
They didn't.
If they did.
Wallah, they didn't.
We got to get them to call you. If they did. Sumud Podcast, which you never heard of until after today. This is Sumud Podcast, just so you know.
You're never going to let it go.
So if we called you or Piers Morgan called you or any other Arab journalist, okay, who would you go on first?
The Arab. And that's what I did.
But we're not doing that. Not you. This is not about you. This is not about you.
Why?
No.
There has.
I know you have.
Actually, you said something very important because it happened to me as well. Okay, with something like this, you need to be strategic. Anna, for me, my thing was to do local first, so Egypt first, regional second, and then international. My local was Lamis Al Hadidi, and these are the people that simply reached out to me. And also my mother's phone was blowing up. But these are the people that found me. So I did one local and one outlet in Lebanon, and then I did Piers. So Piers was actually the third one I did. And I made sure to put my people first, basically. That being said, I do understand what you mean.
So I know, just for the audience and the listeners, I know you.
Oh,
you
no,
had a
but
game
by
plan.
the way, criticize me. We should criticize each other. As long as it's constructive, it's beautiful.
I
have zero
happily
sensitivities.
Criticize you. I promise you.
It depends, though.
Yeah,
not my hair, you know?
That's just not, I mean, come on. I feel bad for me here. That's kind of messed up. See? But seriously, we have an issue. We do
have an issue.
And I have so many different examples.
I have examples.
Yeah, we go. Yeah.
Well, look, I'll tell you something, Masa. And this is something that hurts. This is also, again, about the self-colonization. I now understand what you mean. I have a friend of mine, and she told me something that's heartbreaking. She told me I had to be recognized in the West before I'd be recognized back home.
Yeah.
And because of this, a lot of us then go to their platforms because that will give you legitimacy. Yani, I need to be quoted by the BBC still before I'm quoted by a local independent paper. So this is where then goes back to relationship with self. Seriously, it's always connected to relationship with self, because if I put myself above, and by the way, I'll tell you something. I have an issue now. I hate talking about issues, but for example, even with independent outlets, even with our own independent outlets, sometimes they'll reach out to me and I will connect them to someone who is more valid. But no, we want you because of the followers. But this person speaks much better. Much better.
Yeah.
This person is actually from the south of Lebanon, for example. No, we want the person we want to be seen. People want to be seen. And unfortunately, when your own people don't see you, then you look outwards.
But don't we have to break the cycle?
Of course. Of course.
Right? Yeah.
We have to. And it starts with your relationship with self.
Isn't this how our cousins get it done?
Habibi, honestly, if I weren't, bravo عليهم.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Israel's power, Zionism's power is actually outside of Israel. It's actually outside of the region. They lobby. You never hear about them fighting with one another, even though they do, even though they would sacrifice each other.
Yeah.
For the movement. We would sacrifice each other and the movement. I will sacrifice you and the movement. Ego.
Yeah.
And ego is a problem. By the way, you think it's something small, but this is something I say. Once we were going and organizing, and there was a problem with someone who didn't want to speak second. They wanted to speak first. وده هيحرر فلسطين يعني. ما speak first and second and third. قلت له حبيبي بابا speak speak. Speak. But
speak.
This is what I mean. Ego is a problem. And also still wanting to be validated by the other. We are still waiting for them to call us human. Stop waiting.
And it starts with you, right?
Me?
You're leading the way.
Will you give me Rahmanistan?
You're
Rahmani
a dictator.
bad,
You're a
and
dictator.
I am the dictator,
yes,
Rahmani, and people speak the language of Rahmani, no?
You got it. Can I ask you about people who are taking advantage of the movement? let's just call them grifters.
Sure.
What's your take on them?
So for me personally, I have, alhamdulillah, a salary. So I did get fired. And it was interesting
Who
that...
fired you?
مش هقول. It doesn't matter. I forgive. And it's fine. It's fine. They're actually lovely people. I would have fired me. I got a bit too much. But خلاص, but you have to say برضو يعني. But anyway, it was the Irish guy at the end of the day who gave me a job. Paul Bigger. Shout out, Paul. I don't want to give him too many compliments so it doesn't go to his head.
Yeah.
But he did.
He's been on this podcast.
Don't.
He has.
Yes, I watched it.
Yes, you have. Yeah. Very early on, first year, I think.
Because I watched the show.
Yeah.
So Paul actually gave me a job. And it was funny because I was helping Tech for Palestine anyway. I called him up. He called me and he obviously saw that I was distraught. I didn't know what to do. And he told me, okay, let me see our budget. Let me see if I can I just match the salary that you had? I'm like, yeah, anything. Yeah. It's good. So now that's actually my one income. Never took money speaking. Sometimes people fly me out. They provide me with accommodation. Other than that, absolutely wala haga.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. That being said, inshallah, if I can monetize my platforms at some point, maybe I will. I don't know what I'm going to do yet in the future.
Let me ask it differently because I think you're still being nice.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, you know?
Oh,
you're
me.
going? Yeah, no. I'm talking about
you're talking about
grifters,
yes,
people
yes.
who are
Oh,
taking
yes.
advantage. I know we all know that you're legit. Like, let's just put that on the record right now.
No, but you should, at the end of the day, I think people have a responsibility to check the money that they are sending.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's not just grifters right now that is a problem,
right,
but it's mismanaged funds.
Right.
So, for example, instead of putting money in certain direct action, instead of you're giving money as a community to fly someone around. Why do you? I remember I saw once this person who was advocating and he was asking people to send him money for a flight ticket. طب don't fly. Just stay put.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if I keep nitpicking on certain things, مش هنخلص.
Yeah.
يعني I have another problem. For example, there was a Palestinian who reached out to me from Gaza and someone was doing a GoFundMe page for them and they took the money.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. This will happen in any movement because we've seen different movements. يعني أنا بقول لك about the Egyptian, this happened then. This happens always because humanity is flawed, very fortunately. This is why, again, the responsibility goes back to you as grassroots to not just hold people accountable, and you have to have fact when you do. So it just doesn't become, let's just cancel people for the sake of it. Because you always worry about the witch hunt, and that breaks movements.
Yeah.
Of me just, I actually don't like Nadine and she's now in the movement, so now I do a video about her even though it's not true. So you need to do your due diligence as well as an observer. Who am I giving this money to? Where is it actually going? Verify. Critical thinking.
Yeah.
But of course, people are going to do this because humanity is flawed in this way.
Yeah.
But you as a person giving your money, يعني أنا مثلا دلوقتي when we're doing things, shout out to Uhud, I love you so much, who is when we're helping certain families, you connect the person to the family على طول, like give them the money.
Yeah. I just don't understand how people can raise, I'm just going to focus on Palestine, raise money for Palestine and pocket the money.
I don't understand how people can shoot kids in the head and do a TikTok
That's
video
the response.
after. Well, it's as bad as.
Yeah.
It is as bad as.
Yeah.
It is as bad as. Seeing what we're seeing, for you to see that kind of suffering.
But aren't you surprised it's our own?
لا, I was expecting it from our own. I don't want to be that person, but I have not seen good from our own. يعني, let's just say.
Yeah.
I sometimes get more attacked from our يعني,
what do you get attacked for? No, what do you get attacked for?
I don't want to say this because it's so demoralizing. What's the English word? Demoralizing?
Right?
Yeah, I don't want to say, this is the thing. You can quote me on this. I do not want to nitpick on these things because it is demoralizing. Because one of the biggest detriments of any movement is tying a face to a movement.
Mm-hmm.
When you tie a face to a movement, how do the Zionists then play? Or the other plays? I discredit the person, and by doing so, I discredit the movement.
Right.
But there are things that we know internally as people who operate that you can't even come out publicly and say because you know it's going to have a negative repercussion. It goes back to that values and understanding and venting rather than changing. Sometimes I know that if I were to do this, I'll vent out my anger because I'm so angry. But it's gonna cause a rift. It's gonna cause problems. People are gonna think of that division instead of focusing on what's happening on the ground, instead of working constructively towards something. And other people who put faith in that person are gonna get so demoralized. But you have to be strategic. You can't be impulsive. I know it's rich coming from me, the most impulsive person ever, but be better than me.
Be better.
Do better. But you know what I do?
Yeah.
I call them out face to face.
I believe
That's
you.
smart.
I believe you.
You go up to the person, you find them. And people think the world is online. The real work happens offline.
Yeah.
And the real workers are the people who don't have followers, you know?
Yeah. Followers. If you could go back to your 16-year-old self, what message would you give?
My 16-year-old self, she was lovely, by the way.
I again, just for the audience, she really is a comic. I mean,
لا
all of my notes, I had like.
No, what did you want to talk about? حرام. لا والله
It's okay,
أبدا.
we're good. She threw me off script. I wasn't ready for this.
Honestly, Alea and I were talking about it before.
Is that who?
Sorry.
Ala? Yeah,
Alea,
okay, gotcha.
Alea
She told me,
I don't think you're gonna go on script. She said that on the phone. All the points you make are very valid, and they are unfortunate when it comes to us because it hurts more. And going back to Ahmed Zein, he talked about this before. It hurts more when it's from your own.
Yeah.
It hurts way more when it's from your own. You always think to yourself, بجد, after all of it, like, Habibi.
Did you just pull a journalistic trick on me and I answered my question?
Yes.
16 nice.
And also to give me time to think.
Okay.
If I were to go back to my 16-year-old self, I would tell her to spend more time with family and which I'm doing now. Yani, it was nice. First week of Ramadan, I was with my dad. That was the sweetest thing. You know, I love him so much. He was the original spearfisher. That's where I got
Really?
it from.
We're going to have him on the podcast.
You should. But he's a character. All of them, honestly, I would just spend more time with my family, for sure.
So do you realize how many people look up to you? How many people aspire to be just like you?
Oh, don't say that.
I'm being serious.
La. Alhamdulillah.
Do you realize it?
No, stop.
Why not?
ليه?
Do you realize it?
لا, it's fine.
You can't take compliments?
Huh?
You can't take compliments?
It's good. لا, alhamdulillah.
Okay. Invariably, there is a young person out there who wants to be like you one day.
They shouldn't.
Who looks up to you.
They should be like them better.
Well, what's your message to them? If they want to do what you're doing, if they want to be like you, they're going to be themselves.
Yeah. Be yourself. Be yourself and work on yourself and have a very healthy relationship with yourself. Honestly, even if you're flawed, especially the flaws.
You keep saying have a healthy relationship. What does that mean with yourself? What is that?
I love that. Remember when you were saying about the too loud and too impulsive? I used to be told it in a way that was, but most things can be turned. If I kept thinking you're impulsive, I will think of it in such a negative way. There will constantly be friction with me and that impulsive self. But if I start to think of it as wala good, wala bad, neither good nor bad, I'm just impulsive. Okay, let's take this impulse. How can I then have a healthy relationship with my impulsiveness so that I accept it? Once you accept something, you can properly analyze it. So there's not constant fighting with my flaws. I take them in and I see how I can tweak them so they work in my benefit. Rafah border. Impulsive.
Right.
However, it worked in my benefit because I directed it and was in charge of it. When I talk about relationship with self, it's how you drive a car. Am I in the passenger seat or am I driving? When I have these intrusive thoughts, how do I speak to myself? Am I constantly negative and taking myself down? I went on Piers Morgan and didn't do so well, and all I'm thinking about is how I let all these Palestinians down. خلاص, now the genocide is the genocide. طب لا, you didn't do as well as you would have liked to. Okay, what can you do if you're gonna go next? What can you do? Better prepare. Don't be arrogant. I know. What is the right way that you can message so that you can benefit people? My mom told me this. She told me as soon as you start talking and taking actions for the people and not عشان تراضي ضميرك وتراضي ربنا, then you shut up. As soon as you start to do it for the wrong reasons, then you sit back down.
Yeah.
And bake bread or something. I don't know.
And bake bread or something.
Yeah. I think I'd be a terrible baker, but you know what I mean.
We have bakers. That's okay.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I'll give you more.
Yeah. Thank you.
Like two more.
Are you going to break it in half again?
Do I have to give more people?
You don't have to.
Of course I share. No, but I do share. I don't want it to seem like I'm not someone who shares. I share.
So tell me about Tech for Palestine and the work that you're doing there.
Okay, so I love Tech for Palestine because it is an incubator, and it's one of those things where it answers the question of those who tell you, oh, well, what are we going to do about it? There's so much for you to do. And Tech for Palestine is an incubator for all these projects that help make this world a better place. To sum it up, you have Thawra.ai, which is an ethical chat GPT. So you no longer have an excuse of, oh, well, it's just ChatGPT that's up there. You have NewsCord, which is an alternative news outlet. You have Boycott, which is the official BDS. You have Find a Protest. You have so many projects by amazing, interesting, ethical people who want to make this world a better place.
And what's your role with them?
I'm their consultant. So basically, I help out with the projects as much as possible, bringing these projects to light, and also talking media plans, identity, and how to move forward. Because as we said, the messages are so strong, but we live in a world where you need to package in a message. You need to package these messages in a way that's digestible. You need to go to people and tell them, okay, here's the alternative. Sometimes you do need to, and not in a bad way, but you do need to spoon feed people because you can't just go up to people and say, boycott. Don't do this. Don't do this. It needs to be a more constructive movement where it's do this instead, or this is an option for you.
Did Upscrolled come from Tech for Palestine as well?
Yes, so Upscrolled is one of the projects that is now graduated and it's on its own. Founder Hasan is an inspirational individual who started off alone in this completely. And it was most interesting that even though people even from our perspectives told him that he wouldn't make it, and he did, and now it's gotten over 5 million users, and it's just so beautiful to watch something like that. So for everyone, if you're still not on Upscrolled, please get on Upscrolled, because we can't just complain that we don't like something without enabling the ethical alternatives that do find their ways in front of us.
So what question didn't I ask you that I should have?
I think we covered most things. I think I would really, really go back to how eye-opening it is when you realize that people don't have the same reality as you. It's scary. And the other thing is, one of the most important thing is how people choose to believe certain realities even though they're not true in order to sleep better at night. And the last thing is, just because someone has a different opinion from you, do not ostracize them. We can all speak. Unity is key. And especially unity between Arabs and Africans and people in the diaspora and people of the region. There needs to be a bridge there. There needs to be a bridge there. And people shouldn't talk to each other from the tip of their nose. We're all going to die naked and alone. And it's a beautiful thought to have. Beautiful.
There's a segment where we just have you look at the camera and you say whatever you want to say. It could be a message. It could be commentary. Totally your call.
Okay. It's very difficult to have hope in today's age, but Zionism has been exposed and everyone should do their part to work and fight it. And interestingly enough, it is those people who tried to appease it are the most people that are now going to wish that they hadn't done so. That's it.
Amazing. Such a pleasure having you. Thank you so
so
much. I appreciate you coming to DC just for this.
Yes, it was amazing.
Listen, stay tuned, cause it's time for Sumud.